I used to think the dark was just the absence of light. Now I know it's a place. It has weight. It has distance. And if you walk into it deep enough, long enough, something there will notice you. Last year, I was just another burned-out employee traveling for work, stuck in a cheap motel next to a forest. I went for a walk to clear my head. I remember the trees closing in, the path disappearing, my phone dying, and my own voice calling my name from somewhere ahead. I've told everyone that something found me in those woods, but the truth is worse. Something walked out. I'm not sure. This is what really happened the night I got lost in Graypine Forest, and why I don't trust the person in my own reflection anymore. My name's Daniel, I'm 34, and I travel for work more than I actually live at home. Conferences, audits, trainings, airports and rental cars and lonely hotel rooms blurred together until every place felt like the same beige box with different art on the walls. Graypine was supposed to be another forgettable town. My company sent me to evaluate branch performance, or whatever phrase they use to justify shoving people like me into economy seats twice a month. The branch office was small, stuck on the edge of a town that smelled like wet dirt and pine sap. When I checked into the motel, the clerk pointed out the window at the tree line. "Don't go wandering after dark," she said. "We get tourists trying to hike at night. Rescue teams hate it." I laughed it off, made some joke about being too lazy to hike in the daytime, let alone at night. I didn't tell her I'd always hated the dark. Not in a childish way, not monsters under the bed stuff. It was more practical. I didn't like not seeing what was around me. I slept with the bathroom door cracked, the fan on, a slice of light cutting across the room. Darkness makes everything feel like it's holding its breath. Back then, I just thought that was anxiety. The motel backed up right to the tree line. From my window, I could see the forest like a wall, dense, thick trunks, branches interlocking overhead. Even in daylight, it looked heavy. That first day I did my meetings, smiled at the local staff, nodded through PowerPoints. By evening, I was exhausted in that weird way that isn't physical, just tired of my own head. I changed into a hoodie, grabbed my headphones, and stepped outside to smoke and walk the parking lot. The air was cold enough to bite. I paced along the edge of the lot, staring at the trees. There was a narrow trail where the grass had been trampled down, probably used by dog walkers or bored guests. From inside the forest, something glowed faintly. Not a lamp, not a car, just a pale, almost grayish light, like the last strip of sky after sunset, trapped between the branches. I told myself I'd just take a short walk down the path. 5 minutes, 10 max. Just to move my legs and clear out the buzzing in my brain. I didn't bring a flashlight. My phone was at 30%, and I figured that was enough. I left the safety of the parking lot lights and stepped under the trees. The first thing I noticed was how quickly the sounds of the road disappeared. A few steps in, and the hum of distant traffic faded. The motel's neon sign became a faint smear through the trunks. The forest swallowed the world behind me like a door closing. My shoes crunched over dead leaves and twigs. The air smelled damp and green, like moss. I kept the motel in view at first, walking parallel to it. But the trail curved, and I followed, thinking I'd loop around and come back out near the front. The sky above darkened faster than I expected. That early evening blue drained into gray, then into something almost black. I checked my phone. 7:46 p.m. Not late, but under the trees, it could have been midnight. I turned on my phone's flashlight, and the beam punched a small hole in the dark. The trunks around me jumped into existence, pale, rough bark, patches of lichen, branches like reaching fingers. I walked a little further. The path thinned. Branches snagged my sleeves. Roots caught my feet. I kept telling myself, just a bit more. There'll be a clearer trail ahead. I'll see houses or a road. I don't know how long I walked like that. 15 minutes? 20? Time felt soft. At some point, I realized I couldn't see the motel at all anymore. When I turned around, everything behind me looked the same. Black gaps between trees. No neon, No parking lot lights, no glow of distant town. Just the forest. And something else. The light that had drawn me in wasn't ahead of me anymore. It was gone. I tried to stay calm. I told myself to follow my footsteps back, but the ground was just a mess of leaves and mud. The undergrowth I'd stepped through had already settled back into place, like the forest didn't want to leave a trace I'd ever been there. The phone beam looked weaker. Battery at 15%. I cursed under my breath. Okay, great job, Daniel. Idiot tourist lost in the woods right next to his own motel. You'll be a legend at corporate. My voice sounded small. I started walking back the way I thought I'd come. After a few minutes, the air around me changed. It felt thicker. Like the dark wasn't just absence anymore, but something I was moving through. The beam of my flashlight hit tree trunks and seemed to stop, like the light itself got tired and didn't want to go further. Then the sounds went wrong. Before, I'd heard insects, the distant flutter of birds, leaves rustling overhead. Now that all faded. The silence that replaced it was so absolute that I could hear the blood in my ears. Each breath felt loud enough to echo. I stopped walking. That's when I heard something else. Footsteps, not mine. They were soft, just a faint crunching in the leaves behind me. A second spacing, like someone else had been matching my pace and finally slipped. I spun around, phone held up like a weapon. The trees stared back. The beam shook in my hand as I swept it side to side. Nobody else is out here, I muttered. You're tired. You're hearing your own steps delayed. That's a thing, right? Echoes or something. I listened. Nothing. Then, from somewhere deeper in the dark, I heard a voice. My voice. Great job, Daniel. Idiot tourist. It repeated the phrase I'd said a minute ago. Same words, same rhythm, same little laugh at the end. Only wrong. Like someone speaking along with a recording, half a second behind. I froze. Hello? I called out. Because that's what stupid people do in horror movies, and apparently also in real life. The forest swallowed the word. It didn't even echo. Somewhere ahead, in the dark, my own voice answered. Hello. Just that one word. Exactly like I'd said it. Same tone, same slight uptick at the end. I swung the flashlight wildly. Who's there? I snapped, trying to sound more annoyed than scared. You some hiker messing with me? Because I'm not in the mood. Who's there? The voice repeated, overlapping mine. This time it came from a little closer, off to the right. I picked up a rock without even thinking and hurled it into the trees. Branches shivered, leaves fluttered down. Something laughed. My laugh. Hearing your own laugh come from somewhere else is wrong. It vibrates in your bones like a tuning fork. Okay, I said, backing up. Okay, screw this. I'm going back to the motel. I spun and walked fast, then faster, eyes locked on the trembling beam of light. Behind me, the second set of footsteps matched mine. Not quite in sync, half step off. Crunch, crunch. I didn't look back. Instead, I did something I still regret. I started talking. Just go away, I said. Leave me alone. This isn't funny. My own voice replied from behind my left shoulder. Just go away. Leave me alone. This isn't funny. It wasn't copying me perfectly anymore. It bent the inflection, dragging out certain syllables like it was tasting them. The last word fell flat, no humor in it at all. The hair on the back of my neck prickled. I broke into a run. The footsteps behind me did too. At first, they sounded like mine. Then they grew heavier. Like whatever was back there was learning as it chased me, adjusting its stride, getting used to my shape. Stop, I gasped, barely able to breathe. Stop, it gasped back. Please, please. I didn't realize I was crying until tears smeared across the screen when I checked my phone again. Battery, 5%. No signal. For a moment, the flashlight flickered. The dark around me pulsed, as if it had been waiting. I stumbled into a small clearing ringed by trees. The beam of my phone cut a narrow cone across the ground and up the trunks. There was no path anymore, just packed dirt, roots, and a sense that I had gone much, much deeper than I ever meant to. The footsteps behind me stopped. My chest heaved, my lungs burned, my legs shook. "Okay," I said. "Okay, you win. What do you want?" Silence. Leaves shifted overhead. Then, straight ahead, my phone light caught on something pale between the trees. Face. My face. It hung in the dark at about my height, features raw and wrong, like someone had sculpted me from memory out of wax and left it too close to a fire. Its eyes were slightly too wide, the mouth a little too long, the skin smudged with shadow where a neck and body should have been. It took me a second to realize the rest of it was there, thin, elongated, pressed flat against the darkness like someone had ironed my outline onto the night itself. It tilted its head the way I do when I'm confused. My throat closed. "Who are you?" I whispered. It opened its mouth. My voice came out. "Who are you?" But this time, instead of echoing me, it kept talking. "You walked into the dark," it said, like figuring out how sentences worked. "You left the light. You came where I live." It smiled. My smile, but stretched. "I can't go where you came from. Not alone." Something cold slid across my thoughts, like fingers dipping into water. A possibility formed, sharp and ugly. It wants a guide. I shook my head. "No," I whispered. "No, I'm not. I don't." It laughed, a perfect copy of a sound I'd made years ago in some office kitchen. "Not tonight. Not now." "That's not how this works," it said. "You brought your shape with you, your walk, your voice, your fears." It stepped, or unfolded, or unpeeled from the trees. As it moved, bits of darkness clung to it, reluctant to let go. Standing there, it looked even more like me, but simplified. A sketch of myself in shadow and bone. It mimicked the way I held my shoulders, the way I clenched my jaw. It took a step toward me. I stumbled back. "I can't go alone," it repeated. "But we can trade." The phone vibrated in my hand. For a moment, I thought I'd somehow gotten a signal, that the universe had decided to throw me a lifeline. The screen glowed white as the battery icon flashed red. Then everything went black. The forest howled into existence around me, a void pressing on my eyes. Without the light, I didn't even have a sense of my own hands. "Wait!" I shouted. "Wait, don't!" Something cold and dry wrapped around my wrist. Not a hand, an outline of where a hand should be. I felt myself yanked forward. The world stretched. And then, I was standing at the edge of the trees, just like that. Parking lot lights burned in front of me. The motel sign flickered. Cars sat in their spots like nothing was wrong. For a second, I thought I'd hallucinated everything. Then I realized two things at the same time. First, the forest behind me was silent, like a mouth that had just swallowed. Second, I could still feel a pressure wrapped around my wrist, except when I looked down, my hand was empty. I checked out of the motel at dawn. The clerk asked if I'd slept okay. I said yes, too quickly. She frowned like she wanted to ask more, but didn't. On the drive back to the airport, the trees along the road seemed to lean in. Not in a supernatural way, just aware. Every time I glanced in the rearview mirror, for a split second I thought I saw another head behind mine, just out of focus. At home, things were almost normal. My apartment looked the same. My partner, Eli, hugged me at the door like always. "You look exhausted," he said, brushing a thumb under my eye. "Rough trip?" "Long," I said. "Just long." He watched me for a second too long, like he was trying to line up a memory with what was in front of him. "Something's different," he said finally. "Can't put my finger on it." I laughed it off. The first few nights back, I slept with the lights on. I told Eli it was jet lag. When I drifted off, I dreamed of the forest. Not huge, dramatic nightmares, just endless walking between trees, the path looping back on itself. Sometimes I heard someone else walking nearby. Sometimes I heard my own voice call out from ahead. In one dream, I woke up on the motel bed, only to see myself still lying there, eyes closed, breathing slowly. I watched my own chest rise and fall. Then the me on the bed opened his eyes and looked directly at me. I woke up sweating, fingers digging into the mattress. The worst part wasn't the dream. It was the way my body felt when I woke up. Slightly off, like I put my skin on backward. The first real crack came a week later. I was brushing my teeth, staring at myself in the bathroom mirror. The overhead light buzzed faintly. For a long moment, my reflection didn't move with me. It was tiny, barely a delay. I lifted my hand, and there was a fraction of a second where the reflection stood still before catching up. If I'd blinked, I would have missed it. I dropped the toothbrush into the sink. Mint foam splattered the porcelain. "Did you see that?" I called out. "See what?" Eli's voice floated in from the bedroom. "Nothing," I said. That same day, I got an email from the Graypine branch manager. Subject line, "Lost item?" He wrote that housekeeping had checked my room and found something under the bed. There was a blurry picture attached. The photo showed the motel carpet, the metal frame of the bed, and something dark shoved against the wall. At first, I thought it was a duffel bag. Then I zoomed in. It wasn't a bag. It was shaped like a person curled on their side, knees to chest, arms wrapped around themselves. Just a dark outline, like someone had cut a human shape out of the photograph. Around the edges, the pixels were warped, as if the image itself had been burned. Underneath, the manager had typed, "Hard to tell what it was exactly. When we went back to check again, it was gone. Just wanted to make sure you hadn't left anything important." I stared at that image for a long time. Eventually, I wrote back, "No, not mine. Thanks." That night, I turned off the bathroom light and watched my reflection for a full 30 seconds. In the dim hallway glow, my mirrored face looked patient. I'm telling you all of this now because I've run out of ways to pretend it's in my head. I've started noticing little things that don't feel like mine. I'll catch my hand reaching for something I don't remember deciding to grab. I'll hear myself laugh at a joke I didn't find funny. I'll say a phrase Eli swears I've never used before, but that sounds exactly like something the Graypine staff might say. Sometimes, when the apartment is dark and I'm the only one awake, I'll hear soft footsteps in the hallway. Not coming toward the bedroom, going away from it. Like something is pacing the length of the apartment, practicing. Last week, I woke up standing at the front door with my shoes on and my keys in my hand. The door was unlocked. I don't remember getting out of bed. Eli is worried. He thinks I'm having some kind of breakdown from stress. He doesn't believe in creatures that mimic people. He believes in diagnoses, therapy, medication, things that can be named and filed. I wish I believed in those more than I believe in what I saw in that clearing. I haven't told him about the worst part. The worst part is this. Every night, right before I fall asleep, there's a moment where the room goes very still. The sounds of the building fade. The fridge hum disappears. The distant traffic dulls. It feels exactly like that moment in the forest, when the dark became heavy. In that silence, I hear breathing next to the bed. Sometimes it matches mine. Sometimes it doesn't. Yesterday, I recorded myself sleeping. I set my phone on the dresser, camera facing the bed, just like I did that night in Graypine, before everything changed. I told myself that if I watched the video and saw nothing, I'd get help. Commit to the idea that it's all in my head. But if I saw something else, well, I'm sitting here now, in the glow of the laptop screen, watching the footage. At first, it's normal. I see myself lying there, tossing, turning, Eli asleep beside me, back to the camera. The room is dim. Streetlight leaks through the curtains. Around 3:07 a.m., I stop moving. My chest still rises and falls, but my body goes very still. A minute later, the shadows in the corner of the room start to thicken. They slide up the wall like spilled ink floating backward. From that darkness, something steps out. It's me. Same hoodie I wore to bed, same hair, same tired lines on my face. This second me stands at the side of the bed and watches. The me in the bed doesn't move. The thing bends over, its head almost touching mine on the pillow. Then it straightens and turns toward the camera. For a split second, the face is wrong. The features stretched, the eyes black where the pupils should be. Then the image flickers, and it looks perfectly normal. It walks to the dresser, leans in, and stares directly into the lens, into me. Then it reaches forward, and the video stops. The file is corrupted from that exact frame onward. The timestamp at the bottom of the screen says 3:12 a.m. I don't remember getting up last night. I don't remember touching the phone. But I woke up this morning with dirt on my socks and a smear of pine needles on the floor inside the front door. There is no forest anywhere near my apartment. Not in this city, not for miles. So here's the part that hurts to admit. I don't think the thing in Graypine traded places with me in one clean switch. I think it walked out of the woods with me, learned me, practiced me. I think every night it becomes a little more Daniel, and I become a little more of whatever was left curled under that motel bed. I've started forgetting basic things, my passwords, my own phone number, the names of people I've worked with for years. Those memories don't feel stolen, they feel moved, like they're being stored somewhere else, like something is editing me from the inside out. I've booked a room back in Graypine. I told Eli it's for a follow-up visit with the branch. I'm not sure if I'm going to come back, because here's the choice as I see it. Either I stay and risk that thing using my body to live a normal life, smiling in my skin, holding the person I love, going to my job while something hollow moves underneath. Or I go back to the forest where this started and try to close whatever door I opened. I don't know which outcome is worse. I just know that someone has to stay in the dark. Maybe that's always what it wanted. Not a victim, a replacement. So if you're hearing this, if you've made it all the way through my confession, do me one favor. If you ever find yourself standing on the edge of a forest at night, and there's a narrow path leading into the trees, and the darkness looks almost welcoming, don't go in. Because the dark is not empty. It remembers every shape that walks into it. And it always wants one more.